Welcome to the Writer's Journey podcast. I'm Michael Laron, a science fiction and fantasy author on a journey to go from nobody to bestseller, and I'm documenting every step of the way. Tune in every week as I pull back the curtain on my writing life and how I'm building a writing career while working a full-time job, raising a family, and attending law school classes in the evenings. You can find show notes for this week's episode, a free starter library of my fiction, and much more at michaellaron.com. Enjoy the show. Hello and welcome to episode 63. So I'm in the process of renovating this studio. Things are happening. Got a few more equipment in. I got a new windscreen for my mic. I got a new arm stand for my mic so that I don't have to just set the mic on my desk. I can actually put it on a boom arm, and that'll be really neat. And then that's kind of it. Still waiting on this equipment to come in next week, and the desk and the bookcase and all that good stuff. So anyway, what I wanted to talk about this week was that over the weekend I had one of my lazy days, and usually, I'm pretty productive on the weekends, and I'm usually doing a lot of stuff, with writing and marketing and business and all that. But this past Sunday, I just didn't really want to do any of that. And every once in a while on a rainy day, you just want to sit and watch YouTube, right? And so I found myself watching a bunch of TED Talks. Like I think I watched TED Talks all day. And the great thing about those is that I always feel really inspired after I've watched a bunch of them. And as I was watching these, I really got the sense of some really interesting things that are coming in the future, or some interesting things that could happen in the future. And so I wanted to talk about a few of those talks and some of the different ideas that were kind of going through my head as I watched them and as I looked at some of the technology and how it might be applicable to writers. And so I watched a great talk by Cesar Hidalgo about a bold idea to change democracy. And the idea was that instead of using politicians, you would instead use algorithms to vote for you. And, I know that sounds a little crazy, but it actually makes a lot of sense if you think about it. Imagine cutting out all politicians, just fire them all. Wouldn't that be nice? Then imagine creating an avatar that represents you. And you can tell that avatar exactly how you want it to vote on every single issue. Then, when bills come up for vote in your legislative body, they go to the people. They don't go to politicians. And your avatar serves as your proxy, and it votes how you think it would vote or how you've programmed it. Now, of course, you can override anything it proposes, and there would be some machine learning involved so that it gets smarter about how to represent you. But just at a very fundamental level, just think about how something like that could completely change democracy. So I'll link to Cesar's talk so you can watch it if you want. I really enjoyed it. And in fact, this isn't the first time I've heard about this idea. I actually heard about it about 5 years ago through someone else. It was like a history podcast, and the person said it, and it shocked me at first. And I was like, that's weird. But then I thought about it, and I thought, that's a really interesting idea. And I've always wanted to write a futuristic sci-fi thriller where it was in the future and democracy was controlled by algorithms. What would politicians look like in a world like that? And what would happen if the algorithms turned on humanity? I'm sure you saw that coming, right? Anyway, that got me thinking about how something like that could work for writers. So imagine readers creating avatars and taking long, exhaustive surveys that ask them about every book they've ever read. Then that avatar goes out and it scans the content of every book that has ever existed. And it reads the books, and it returns hundreds of books that it thinks that the reader will enjoy, and it makes recommendations based on the actual content of the book. Maybe if you like books with sailors in it, it returns books with sailors. Or maybe it goes deeper and recognizes that you like books with sailors that swear, and then it returns books based on that. And it can sense tone, emotion, the level of typos and grammatical errors, and even the level of political sentiment so that it dials into your interests exactly. You no longer need to go to Amazon.com or sort through convoluted lists, like we do now. You get all your recommendations from this personal algorithm, and you pay that algorithm, which in turn takes a small cut and then forwards the rest of the money to the author. So you could set all this to happen without ever visiting a retailer. So maybe you're out jogging and you ask your phone what the algorithm has found for you today, and it recommends a few books that you can easily buy, and then you start listening to one of those audiobooks while you're on your run. So the algorithm's always behind the scenes, scanning every new book and so on and so forth. I don't know. I just thought that would be a pretty cool technology, and it's next level compared to what we have today. The algorithms that Amazon uses they don't actually scan the content of the book. They can't tell you what's happening in this book. They're only going to recommend a book to you based on other books that are selling that may be like it, right? And so I wonder if that is the solution to discoverability. So I watched another talk by Keith Kirkland that talked about designing a language of pure haptic sensation that helped people navigate. So he developed this product called the Wayband that uses haptic feedback to help people get from point A to point B. So imagine if you need to go to a gas station in a city you've never been to and you're at your hotel and you need directions, instead of a GPS that would give you turn-by-turn directions, you use this armband that basically directs you with a series of buzzes or buzzing on your wrists. And it's really interesting. So for example, it helped a blind person run a marathon without any help. And that was historic, apparently. So basically the way I understand it is that the device uses certain sensations that communicate with you and tell you which way to go. So it's really impressive. So I thought about relating that to writing, and what if there was a way to learn how to write using haptic feedback? So imagine being a high school student writing an essay and getting a gentle buzz from your computer whenever you slipped into the passive voice, or being a fiction writer and getting a gentle buzz whenever you write something inconsistent that doesn't get resolved properly, like a character wearing a leather jacket on page 1 but a t-shirt on page 3. Or maybe you get a buzz if you're not being descriptive enough with your writing compared to other writers in your genre. Or if you do public speaking like me, maybe you're up on stage talking about one of your books, but you're confusing the crowd and there's a bunch of confused faces, and maybe you're wearing a device that can sense that, and it gives you a warning buzz to help you realize it so that you can kind of pull back and reorient your speech to get people's attention and kind of get the blood pumping again, right? So anyway, I'll link to Keith's talk too, so you can watch that. Those are just some random musings as I impatiently wait for my studio equipment to arrive so I can start shooting. So, can you tell I'm going a little stir crazy? So, yeah, I like TED Talks. I wish I could watch more of them. But this was just, I guess, binge watch like 30 of them in a row. So that's kind of what's on my mind lately. And I hope wherever you're listening, I hope that you're having a great day wherever you are. And I will talk to you next week. Thanks for joining me this week. If you like this episode, you'll enjoy my backlist episodes at michaellaron.com/podcast. For your free starter library of my favorite novels, join my fan club by visiting michaellaron.com/fanclub. If you're a writer and you want to connect with me further, check out my YouTube channel, Author Level Up, for helpful writing advice at authorlevelup.com. Thanks for listening, and I'll be back next week.